Let's make sure it's recording. Yeah, okay. So this is the second lesson for Jake, the science lesson.
Yep.
I mean, overall, I think that was a good lesson for him. Again, it was one-on-one, which I'm not sure if in a bigger classroom, it would probably be harder to do this.
Mm-hmm.
We started the lesson off with a Newton's Cradle, which he loved.
This is the coolest thing in the world, that's why.
I mean, all the kids love it. It's amazing. I mean, they're elementary schoolers, but the smallest things are
Yep.
like, oh my goodness. But we started with one. I asked him, what do you think's gonna happen? Then we let go, and it kind of went back and forth like it does. And that's when I explained to him that the energy is starting in your hand. It's going to, the first ball that you're pulling out, and then it's going from this one to this one to this one, and this last one, there's nothing there for it. So it's
Right.
gonna push out, and it's gonna go back and do the same thing. And then we did it with 2 and then with 3. So he was like really like into like seeing what's gonna happen and talking about how energy's moving. So then we did an experiment where he needed to be able to repeat directions back to me. So I gave him, it was like 3 or 4 directions at a time, which may have been too much.
Okay.
So he was able to do it, I believe, 4 out of 6 times. But then the 2 other times he missed like one direction.
Okay.
So breaking that up a little bit more, I think he would have been more successful. Maybe it was too much for him to remember at one time. But then we did the experiment. We put marbles 5 centimeters apart, and he had to flick it with a little bit of force, medium amount of force, and a lot of force. He struggled with flicking it with a lot of force. He just, I mean, I think it's, it's got to do with those
we talked
skills
about using, maybe using a tool that would actually.
Yes. So
like a spring tool.
Right. So the science department has like a spring scale that you can pull the actual hook part, and then it has like a piece that pushes in and out.
Yep.
So you pull it, that piece goes in, so that he could actually see like, 5 newtons, 10 newtons, 15 newtons, and he can actually just like go of it, and then that would push the marble, which may have made those motor skills easier for him.
Yeah, because I think that his focus is on, I have to repeat that same strength, and he's focusing so much on how do I do that again?
Right.
Than actually just doing it.
Right. Right. So I mean, he understood the concept of energy moving, but I mean, part of the procedure I would change for next time. I would change the amount of directions I gave him at once.
Mm-hmm.
But he got the main idea of the lesson, which was good. That energy moves. Energy doesn't just stand still.
No, he definitely got it, and I thought that it was actually very well executed. Because you could tell that he was understanding, all the parts. What we're talking about, I think what you were saying, it's more of like fine motor skills, where we can, now in reflection, we can plan ahead if we were doing a lesson, next time. But I don't think that that's actually should be a detriment in the planning that you had with this at all. It's also, that's also part of just learning, the student in a different capacity, in a different subject, but he is definitely that type of kid that is kinesthetic. He wants to get up. He wants to, he doesn't want to just read about it. He wants to do it. And I think for a student like him, that is where his comprehension is going to increase in the material. And I think that, I think science in particular for this student allows him that better, I guess, freedom for himself, because he can see it as it's happening.
Right.
So I actually, the way that, you planned it and executed it, I thought was absolutely excellent. I think that Jake's response to it was probably even better than you can anticipate. And I think that the things that we were talking about in your reflection is just those little minute things that you wouldn't necessarily pre-planned for, but now moving ahead, if you had a similar thing like the springboard,
the spring scale,
like we could with spring scale, excuse me, like we can not springboard, spring scale. We can definitely then set that up, for how he's doing it, and in a connection to then your previous lesson with him. This is how we can move him in comprehension, is a class like science. So it's one of those things, again, like the skills are universal. He's going to use the application of what he's going to use them in is going to be very specific to the subject. But like science is where he shines. And you can see it. And he can explain it. Like he might not be using you know, the force and the newtons and all that, like, he
Right.
totally understands what is happening.
Right.
So we just gotta, you know, take what his understanding of that is and show him how it's, you know, a synonym for Newton,
Right,
or a synonym for force,
right,
and he'll get it.
right.
But I think, like, when he was flicking, like, he's just so focused on, I have to flick it that same, how did I do that
Yes.
before? How did I do?
Right,
you
like
know,
the
and it's
actual
like,
motion of
it's
the
like,
flicking.
don't worry about that. And
Right.
like, so like, he has to understand, like, what that was his, you know, the potential energy, the kinesthetic energy, and that became the new, like, he just,
Right,
you know, like, and he would get that.
yes,
That's just the type of kid he is. But,
yeah,
no, I thought the planning on that one was very, very well done.
thank you.
Welcome. That was an easy one.